Good morning, everybody. My name is Bobby Warshell. I am the partner channel manager here at Emergency Reporting. And one of my roles is to periodically set up and host some of these partner webinars where our partners are able to reach out and show their products to our customer base. So today we are talking with Streetwise. We have Phil Cowie on the line. He will be doing the presentation. And a few other guys in the background will be watching questions and any chat information that may come through. So if you have any questions, by all means, type them in. We have people watching that. And at the end, we're hoping to have some time to possibly have some further question and answer sessions if things come up. So with that, Phil, it is all yours.
All right, well, thank you, Bobby. Good morning, everybody. Phil Cowie here with Streetwise. And if I sound like I talk a little bit like an auctioneer, it's because we have a lot of information to get through in a very short period of time. So we're going to try to do that as best we can for you this morning. Just to give you a little background, Streetwise is really totally focused on information for response. So how we differ, for instance, from emergency reporting is focused on records management, that is collecting all kinds of data and keeping it for you in a good solid place where you can get to it easily and you can allow that information to kind of interact with each other, but you'll have that information available for your records. We're really focused on what you need on the call. And let me give you just a little genesis of how we started. I'm a fire guy. I've been in the fire service since, I hate to even admit this, but 1978. So been around a long time. I spent 14 years as a fire chief and then about 10 years doing consulting for the IAFC. Now, during that time, one of the things that I got charged with looking at when we would go out to fire departments all over the United States was looking at the way they were using technology. And what we found is we'd climb up inside the cab of their fire truck and there would either be no technology whatsoever in that truck, or I would see about 70% of the time, I'd see a big laptop computer, typically a big giant Panasonic Toughbook, probably cost them $6,000 or $7,000, and the lid was closed and there would either be a map book or a cup of coffee on top of it. And so we started asking fire departments, why are you not using the technology you have, or why are you not using technology at all for your responses? And what we typically found was two answers. One, it's too expensive. And two, we have it, but it's built by our CAD vendor and it's built for cops and it doesn't do anything for the fire department. So what we found out was that CAD vendors, computer-aided dispatch vendors, their primary focus is on law enforcement, because as you can imagine, there's about 10 police cars for every fire truck in any town in America. So their primary focus is law enforcement. Fire department is just a side issue for them, and they don't focus on it. So we set about trying to create response software that really focused on the fire department. And what that means is unlike the way police departments use their computers in their vehicles, which are basically like their office, we know that we've got about 4 to 5 minutes to get you the information we need. And that's what we're going to try to do, and that's the way that we've set up the interfaces. Now, we're a little different because we have a variety of products, and that's one of the reasons this webinar is going to go very quickly, because we have a lot to cover in a very short period of time. We have 4 distinct products that we want to talk about. The first one is CADlink. Now, CADlink is an apparatus response software. It's tablet-based, and it has full pre-plan management. We'll focus on that in a few minutes, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's designed basically to act as an MDC or an MDT in the fire apparatus, but it will run on standard off-the-shelf commercial tablet products. Sure, you can buy a ToughPad, or you can buy a Samsung Active Pro tablet, one of the big ruggedized tablets, but you can also just go to the store and buy an iPad, or get on Amazon and buy a Samsung tablet or Asus ZenPad. So unlike the installation that's going to require about $6,000 or $7,000, we've distinctly brought the cost down by allowing you to buy a $400 or $500 tablet. So that's one of our first products. The second one is Responder. Now that's our personal smartphone software, and that's for volunteer or on-call personnel to use on their individual smartphone. It's a completely different app, a lot of similarities. The user interface is quite similar, and of course they interact with each other, but this one is distinctly made for individuals and off-duty personnel. It's not to be confused with the software that we have for the apparatus itself. Then we have the SmartBoard, which is our multi-mode station alerting monitor. That's designed to go in the fire station. Now you're going to start to see a thread here. We're taking information you need for the response and we're giving it to you exactly when and where you need it. If you're in the station, we throw that information up on the board for you. If in your apparatus, we get it on CAD-Link. If you're at home enjoying a bit of HBO, we'll throw it on your smartphone. So a lot of different ways that we can use this data. And then last but not least, one we're not going to talk a whole lot about is Caduceus, which is our lightweight web-based computer-aided dispatch software. So we do have our own CAD software, but it's really lightweight. It's designed for very small agencies or even private industrial fire brigades and things like that. But it does fully interact with all the other Streetwise products, and so you can end up with a pretty much powerful enterprise level system if you were to integrate all of these. But they can also be used individually, which is kind of what makes our system a little bit unique. Now, one of the main reasons for the webinar today was to talk about how information can be shared between Streetwise and emergency reporting. So we want to start with that, not end with it. We want to start with it. What information can we share and exchange with emergency reporting? So what I want to do is we're going to kind of follow the information flow. And I want to talk primarily about the information you need for your NFIRS reports. So the most important thing you need from a response software for your NFIRS report is the incident information and the unit timestamps. Those are the two primary things you're trying to capture from your CAD system or from your response software. And those are the two that we're going to follow first. So when a call comes into the CAD system, or you could be using Caduceus if you're a small agency, but regardless, this is either your independent CAD system here or Caduceus. When a call comes in, that information is then automatically moved from the CAD system into Streetwise. There's a number of different ways that can happen. We can use the way that some other response software works through SMTP or email, but we prefer some of our other methods. We have a direct API post that CAD systems can use. We have file mover software. We have XML capability to take into XML. So we've got about 6 or 7 different ways that we can get data from a CAD system. We do not rely 100% on email. In fact, we tend to try to steer away from that because email can have a lot of problems. Email makes a lot of jumps between your CAD system and whoever's receiving it. So we try to have some other options available. But regardless, the information is moving from CAD into Streetwise. So now you've got the incident information in the Streetwise system here. Well, Streetwise, again, is a cloud-based system, so this information is now on our central server. So instantly what we do is we send that information out to the various platforms in the field. We will send it to the SmartBoard, so the station alert goes off, and we'll show you a little bit how that works in a few minutes. We send it to the tablets in the apparatus, and for personnel that are on call, we send it to their smartphones. Now, that's a real quick view of how the information flows from a CAD system out to the devices in the field. What makes us a little bit different is that with our field devices, we have bi-directional. So we talk to them, they talk to us constantly. Our server and the devices in the field that are running Streetwise are communicating constantly. Among the things that they communicate back and forth is their live vehicle location, which is registered from the GPS chip built into all tablets and smartphones. So we get their location, we're tracking their live location and any status changes that they make. Now, there are a number of other parts and pieces of data that we move back and forth between the two. But for this purpose, what I'm saying is that we can flow back into the Streetwise system the status changes. So you're going to see when we show you the apps themselves that there are big fat status buttons, just like you would see on an MDC or an MDT. You've got status buttons like available, on scene, staging, en route, etc. So when they push those buttons, those timestamps are being captured back into Streetwise. Now I want to talk very briefly, the difference between a timestamp and a radio log. So a timestamp is exactly what it says. When I push this button with my big fat finger, if I push it at 1 o'clock, 15 minutes and 13 seconds, that's a timestamp. That gets recorded by Streetwise as 1 o'clock, 15 minutes and 13 seconds. A radio log is different. If your unit gets on the radio and says engine 31 to control, the dispatcher goes, control, go ahead, engine 31. Engine 31's in service engine 31. The dispatcher then enters that into the CAD system, and that's a radio log entry. Now, the time that it takes to do that can vary. Your CAD system and your dispatch center may be well staffed, adequately staffed, and it's always timely. Perfect, no problem. But for a lot of CAD systems and dispatch centers, the dispatch center is overloaded, understaffed. From the time you call in on the radio and say, I'm on the scene, till the time the dispatcher is able to enter that into the radio log, can be several seconds up to, sometimes I've heard from folks that it takes longer than a minute. So if you're trying to do analytical data, you're trying to do analytics on that response data on those radio logs, oftentimes, particularly for departments that are going for accreditation, they've got a problem. Their response times are horrible, and there's nothing they can do to fix them because that's how the information was captured. With Streetwise, you push the button, you capture the timestamp, period. The dispatcher is not involved. Now, what happens next? We've got incident information, we've got unit timestamps in Streetwise. Now we can flow that information either back to the CAD system, and that's only available on certain CAD systems. We have full bi-directional feed, and that would allow us to send status changes back into CAD. So again, if it was captured at 1:15 and 13 seconds, it's going to pop right back into the CAD as 1:15 and 13 seconds. And your CAD system updates your status. The dispatcher never has to touch it. It's what we call basically silent status change. We also can feed AVL back to your CAD system so that you have a full AVL, just like the police cars going back into your CAD system. The other option, of course, is we can feed it directly to emergency reporting. So now you can use either the CAD interface, which emergency reporting has, to gather that data from CAD, or if you only have access to radio log, meaning you can only get the times from the CAD system that the dispatcher manually entered, the on the scene time and so forth, with Streetwise, you have an alternative. The alternative is I can feed that information from Streetwise into ER, and I get the incident info and the exact unit timestamps that were registered on the devices right down into emergency reporting. Now, the other thing people ask us about all the time is, okay, I've got other information not related necessarily to an emergency, but information I'd like to exchange between emergency reporting and my response software. Typically, the most common is the hydrant data and the pre-plan and occupancy data. Those are two pieces of information that are stored in your records management system, in this case, emergency reporting. Can that information exchange? Yes, it can. Right now, it's a little bit of a manual system, but I want to talk a little bit. Let's talk about hydrant data first. With hydrant data, both systems have the ability to import or export CSV data. That's comma separated value data. It's a very common way to move data back and forth. And we can take data that was entered for hydrants into Streetwise, export it to CSV, and that can be imported into emergency reporting, and the other way around. Will that someday happen and synchronize live in real time without you touching it? Yes, we certainly hope so, and we are working to that end. But right now, you can move that data by import-export from emergency reporting to Streetwise or vice versa. The second thing people ask about is the pre-plan or occupancy data. Let me preface this comment very quickly by saying that the way that we store data for occupancies and the way emergency reporting does it is a little bit different. Emergency reporting's original focus was on occupancy and inspections. From that data, then they spun out the opportunity for you to kind of pull a pre-plan out of that. But it didn't start with the NFPA standard, which is what we did. We started with the NFPA 1620 standard. So our database for occupancy information is based on NFPA 1620. Emergency reporting's occupancy database is not based on NFPA 1620. Now you might say, does that mean they can never exchange information? The answer is no, because you can take the information from your occupancy files in emergency reporting, export it by CSV, and we can import it into Streetwise, thus creating what we call mini pre-plans. Now, the reason we call them mini pre-plans is NFPA 1620, with its focus totally on pre-incident planning, has a lot of data points that simply aren't contained in the emergency reporting data. So we can create pre-plans out of that, but there's going to be a whole lot of blank sections in there that you may have to send your folks out to later fill in. But we can't move the occupancy data out of Streetwise back into emergency reporting at the moment, because as you can imagine, we'd have about 30% of our data fields that would have nowhere to go in emergency reporting. So again, question, is this being worked on? Yes, the answer is yes. We hope to be at a point eventually where we can basically attach that data into the emergency reporting occupancy file, taking the fields that we don't have a place to put and dumping them into basically a narrative section or an open-ended section, so that you can still have that data in here. It's simply not separated out into the database the same way. So a lot of data can be moved back and forth between Streetwise and emergency reporting. There are different methods for doing that, and we continue to work on improving those methods all the time. Now, what sets Streetwise apart in terms of response software? Let's go through the basics. First of all, it's a suite of integrated products. It's not one size fits all. It's not taking a smartphone app and trying to use it on a TV in the station. It's not taking a responder device and trying to put it on an apparatus or vice versa. It's a suite of integrated products for use with apparatus and personnel as separate apps. Second, we focus on NFPA 1620 for our pre-planned program. Streetwise really is a combination of response software and pre-plan management. And you might ask why? Well, the simple answer is, when do you need a pre-plan? You need it on your way to a call. So there's no reason that pre-plan software should be separate from response software. Pre-plan software is what you need to access. You need to be able to see the pre-plan on your way to a call. So we combined pre-plan software and response software. We actually think it's all the same thing. But again, with our focus on NFPA 1620, if you look at the standard NFPA 1620, the standard for pre-incident planning, section 4.2.2 says, to develop a pre-incident plan, the developers shall visit the property to become familiar with its layouts, contents, construction, protection features. And that's the way our system was designed. We follow NFPA 1620. There are other products out there I know where they could just go scrape information from the internet. You never even have to leave your fire station, but that doesn't comply with the recommended standard NFPA 1620. And so we've used this standard to drive everything about our pre-plan management system. What else? Well, we have regional data sharing that allow our clients to join into a region, which then allows them to share virtually everything, but remain owners of their own data. So I can share my pre-plans with other departments that I run mutual and automatic aid with. And the cool thing about our regional data sharing is that it does not require all of the regional partners to be part of the same dispatch center. So you can have a department that you run mutual or automatic aid with all the time that's across the county line coming out of a different dispatch center. And if you're both Streetwise clients, you'll be able to share data. You go on a response into their area, you'll be able to pull up their pre-plans, you'll be able to pull up their hydrants, you'll be able to pull up their waypoints, you'll be able to see each other on the map, you'll share AVL, it'll be like your one big giant fire department, even though you're separate agencies, even dispatched out of completely separate places. So we have a unique regional data sharing capability. We have command and control tools that really will assist you. And one of the features of that is that within our response software, each incident gets its own map. So when you start dropping command and control points on that map for a particular incident, you're not sharing that map with 5 or 6 other incidents that might be going on simultaneously. So yeah, it's fine if you're a small department, you only make one run at a time. But we have clients like Little Rock, Arkansas. Those clients get a lot of calls. They may have 15 calls going on at the same time. If all of that was cluttered on one map, it's going to be difficult for them to do command and control. We have benchmark status timestamps. So this sets us apart from the mobile CAD software. That is the mobile software created by most CAD systems. Again, their statuses are focused on the basics, the same thing law enforcement needs: en route, on the scene, et cetera, et cetera. We add benchmark statuses for accreditation and standard of cover so that you can capture at the push of a button important timestamps that you would then be able to go back and analyze later. These are timestamps and statuses you're not going to find in a typical CAD system. Another thing that sets us apart is we have options for bi-directional CAD interfaces. Now, again, not every CAD system out there will allow that, but we have a number of CAD systems. We're probably up to about 7 or 8 CAD systems now that we can do bi-directional data feed. And what that means is that we can act basically fully as the mobile extension of that CAD system. When you hit a status button, it can change your status in CAD. When you move around in your truck, the AVL will update into the CAD AVL system. So we have options for bi-directional interface. We have industry-leading technical support. I mean that as sincerely as I can. We realize that we have gotten into the fire department response software business. And if you're going to get in that business, you damn well better be ready to give 24/365 support. Because if you don't, then you weren't really serious about getting into the response software business. So yes, you can get us 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Somebody is on call for technical support all the time. Last but not least is our phenomenal client web portal. Because we are a cloud-based product, all of your data is collected in one place. And that is where you can go to do your reporting, to do exports of data, to add and conduct analytics. We even have reporting and analytics tools available in that web portal. And you can even add or update premise alerts. And we'll talk about premise alerts in a little bit. So this is what that web portal looks like. I'm going to show you a picture of it because we're probably not going to have time to go into it. But basically, you can see if you were this client and you logged in under your web portal, this is the information you're going to see. And you can see you have the ability to look at things related to your region. You've got the ability to look at the CAD alerts. You can look and conduct analysis or do reports. You've got all these tabs of information down here: CAD alerts, premise alerts, pre-plans, location items. All your information is available. And the main thing I want to point out here that's most important is this tool right down here, which is the export tool, the ability to export that data very quickly and easily. And you can export all of our data in 10 different file types. So unlike a lot of other cloud-based data systems, you can make the decision on how you want to export that data. As far as we're concerned, this data is yours. You own it. It belongs to you. You should be able to export it anytime you want in any way you want. All of our field column headers are adjustable. You can add or take out columns of data. You can do filtering by different columns. You can even have multi-column filters so that you could say, I want to see all the structure fires that occurred between 8 a.m. and noon in or on Marketplace Avenue. Something bizarre like that. You could build that filter, and once that data was filtered here, you hit the export button, you can export it in 10 different file types. So you can import premise alerts, you can send device messages, you can do a lot from this web portal. We're sometimes wondering if we really named it. We should have named it Command Post or something like that, because there's a lot of things that you can do from this giant web portal. That's another one of the things that sets us apart. Now, let's talk about our individual products. and show you those individual products, and then we'll circle back to other ways that we can relate to emergency reporting and grab some questions. I'm going to start with the product that probably most of you are not interested in. And yes, I bluntly say that. And that is Caduceus, our lightweight CAD. Most of you have already got a computer-aided dispatch system. So I just want to throw this up on the screen so that you're aware of it. It's a lightweight computer-aided dispatch system. It uses a standard browser. It is a 2-screen dispatcher workstation. So you can see on your left here, you've got your AVL screen. You've got your unit statuses, so you can see where all of your units are, what call they're on. You're mapping your calls on the AVL screen as well as being able to see the live location of all your units. On the right, you can see here they've got the call. This particular dispatcher has the call entry screen up, so they've got the information where they can take the call. You've got, again, full live AVL, live unit status. You can track resource availability. So when you go to enter a call and assign units to it, it's not going to allow you to assign units that are already on another call. So again, you can have unit by unit assignments. It can be used by multiple dispatchers at the same time. Location selection can be by address entry or map click. We use Google as our geocoding for that purpose, and it's fully configurable. Add dispatchers, users, units, incident types, and again, we can offer that as a subscription service or what's known as software as a service. So that's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't think very many of you joined this webinar to see anything about that. A side note that I want to make about that, though, is that we can make the left-hand screen, what we call the resource monitor, available to other clients as a standalone. Let me explain why we do this. Many of our customers tell us that their CAD system does not have AVL, or automatic vehicle location mapping. Some of it's because they didn't buy that component. Some of it's because the CAD system is too old. Some of it's because they didn't think they could afford it. But frequently, we talk to people who say in our dispatch center, the dispatchers have no way of knowing where anybody is. Police cars, ambulances, they don't know where any of it is. If that's the case, and you probably may realize that if you're going for a community protection risk rating, like an ISO rating, in many states, they will give you some points, very, very small, but they will give you some points for having AVL in your dispatch center. If you're a Streetwise user, one of the side benefits is that you can put AVL in your dispatch center by using our resource monitor. We can give them this. It's browser based. They can pull it up on any screen, and they can have live AVL and resource status for all the fire department vehicles. What do they get out of that? Well, first of all, the dispatchers see where everybody is and what their current status is. But most importantly, if ISO comes in, you get those points for having live AVL for the fire department in the dispatch center. All right, we're done with that part. We're going to dump out of that, and I am going to share a different screen. So if you'll hang on just a second. Let's see if I can get this straight. Let's talk now about the, there we go. Okay, got it up in front of you. Now let's talk about the Apparatus version of Streetwise. This is called CAD Link. This is basically the home screen. I'm going to run through the features real quick so that we can get through all of this in the allotted time period. So this won't be necessarily a full 100% demo, but it will have, I think, most of the information that you're needing, and we can kind of get it out of the way in a quick hurry. So what you're seeing right now is the main home screen of this. This is what you would see on the tablet when you jump up in the truck to go on a call. You can see the user interface is real simple. At the top, you've got the status buttons. Now, there are only 4 of them. The left-hand one shows your current status, and the next 3 are what we call the status smart buttons, because they will populate to the next 3 most likely statuses you're going to choose. But there are a whole bunch of other statuses down here in this little hamburger icon. So you can see that you've got other statuses you can pick from if you need to. But most of the time, the next status you're going to need is actually going to be located right in the smart buttons. So that allows us to have these buttons as big, large buttons that you're going to be able to hit with a big fat finger when you're bouncing down the road in a 20-ton fire truck. And that's the whole purpose of that. So you can see that we're en route. If we go into staging, I'm going to hit the staging button next. Now we've gone to staging. You can see the buttons updated to on scene, canceled, or available. We'll go ahead and mark on scene next. They pulled us out of staging and they put us on scene. You can see now we get at patient, controlled, or cleared scene. But at any point you need to, you can just pop on, whoops, I'm sorry. Let me go to on scene again because I just took myself, talk about big fat buttons. I'm having to reach over here. But here you've got your benchmark statuses. So if you're going for accreditation, you need to record first alarm assembly. There you go. First water applied. There you go. PAR check conducted. Patient care transferred. Primary search complete, secondary search complete, victim extricated. Those type of benchmark statuses can be captured. And by the way, when we capture those benchmark statuses, you're thinking, okay, but there's no place in an NFPA report for that. So what happens to it? Well, we actually do move that into emergency reporting. We just put it in the narrative section. So when you use these, if I hit victim extricated right now, you can see that's my status. That's now been captured. That's actually been moved to emergency reporting and will appear in my NFPA report in the narrative section. That's the only place we have to put it right now. So that's where we record it, but at least you do have that information. And of course it's recorded in our database, so you can look it up by that exact status. You can look at all those statuses, you can analyze them and so forth and so on. So there's your status buttons at the top. Below that, you have your index of calls. That is simply a scrolling little index that you can move back and forth to see all the calls that are on your device. And when you stop and center on a particular call, then that is the call that you're going to be focusing on. And actually, I'm going to go back and just mark myself en route to this fire alarm. So this is the call that we're interacting with. Whatever call is centered on the screen right now is the one that we're interacting with. Below that, you have the main substance body of the alert. Top, you have the call nature, the type of call. You have the location of the call below that. And by the way, that is a hotspot. So if you touch on it, it'll go directly to turn-by-turn navigation for that location. Down here, you have the body of the message. So this is what the dispatcher sent. It's at Duckworth Grill and Tap House, the cross streets. And this will vary based on what the CAD system sends us. So we customize this screen for every single client. So based on what you send us from your CAD system, we can put that information up here and we can even rearrange it for you. Say you said, oh, I want the place name to come after the cross streets or whatever. We can do that. We can rearrange it for you. But any information that you have can be put up here, including dispatcher notes. And if it gets too long, it scrolls off the bottom of the screen. This then becomes vertically scrollable. So I can scroll up and down if there's a lot of information in that particular call. It's a good time for me to point out our premise alert feature. Many of you have heard of premise alerts. A lot of CAD systems have premise alerts where you can enter in a kind of a hazard warning or a warning message about a particular location into the CAD system. And whenever you dispatch that call, that premise alert will be sent out. Unfortunately, a lot of CAD vendors built that, but didn't make the premise alert something that could export to a third party. So the dispatcher sees it, but guess who doesn't? You don't. So other CAD systems don't have a premise alert. Or in some cases, we've been told by clients that they have premise alert, but they're not allowed to use them. Only the police can use them. It's ridiculous. But we built our own premise alert system. So within your web portal that we showed you earlier, you have a place where you can put premise alerts. You put in the address of the call and the premise alert, and then whenever we receive a call for that address from your dispatch center, we put the premise alert into the message, bold right at the top. So if there's a premise alert, it's going to show up right up here. I'll tell you how that's been being used most frequently in the recent history is with the COVID. A lot of places, the health department is issuing an address list of places where COVID patients are located. And so with our import feature to the premise alerts, you can simply put that in a spreadsheet template and import that on, literally, we have some clients doing it on a day-to-day basis, and it would pop up something here that would say probably precaution, use total PPE, something that would indicate to your responders that there is a COVID patient at that location or a suspected COVID patient. So that's being, the premise alert is being used a lot right now for that purpose. So this is the alert screen. That's basically the main home screen. Let's talk about the function buttons at the bottom. We're in the alert screen right now. One of the things that a lot of people like to be able to do is see what other people are doing on this call. So we built this responder panel. If I tap on that, it's going to pull up a responder panel showing who else is involved in this particular call. And so as other units go en route or available or any other statuses that are directly associated with this call, it's going to pop up on the screen here. So you can see that we have Rescue 1 on the scene. We have a firefighter, M. Droid, who's going to Station 1. Yes, these are made up names, obviously. Engine 15 is on the scene, and P. Cowie, that's me, is going to Station 1. We also provide staffing, so you can enter the number of staff as you go en route. Obviously not the responder, no necessary, that's going to be 1. But on the apparatus, you can either have a default value if you're a career department, or you can have a prompt that'll ask you to enter the number of personnel on the truck when you go into response mode. So that information can be seen here clearly by everybody on this call. If I slide my alarm panel over to a different call, the responder panel automatically updates to that specific call. I'll go back to our fire alarm. So that responder panel can be turned on and off, and it is live. It'll update automatically. The tactical map's the most frequently used feature of Streetwise because when you pull it up, it's automatically going to zoom into the location of that particular call. The map is very, very full featured, and it's going to take me just a moment to show you some of the features. But whenever you're using the map, and it centers, in this particular case, it's centered on Duckworth's because that happens to be where the call for the fire alarm was. So it's centered on that. But I want to show you that when you go to the tactical map, you also get 3 new menus on the right-hand side of the screen. Those are things that allowed you to interact specifically with the map. First of all, you have the map settings. You can look at a satellite view, a hybrid view, a terrain view. You can turn the hydrants on and off, the distance of the hydrants. You can go into street view. So if you wanted to get a street view of this location, you can automatically pull it up. In fact, this street view for Duckworth even has an interior view if you want it. So you can pull that up. We have a night mode that'll help keep the reflection off the windshield. You can turn point layers on and off how you want based on different point layers, etc. So there's different ways that you can adjust the way the map is viewed. You have a map actions menu that allow you to either manipulate the map or add things to the map. So for instance, if I want to locate me, I just hit that button and look, wow, it just zoomed over to the location of our office. And we are at the airport here. We're called Hangar 14 Solutions for a reason. It's because we are in Hangar 14. And so we're at an airport. You can see these test devices that we have on the screen here. So you're seeing the live location. It's a good chance for me to talk about AVL. In our system, AVL can use the exact icon for the type of truck that you have. And there are 4 different colors you can choose from. So an engine can be an engine. We have tankers. We have ladder trucks. We have ambulances. We have cars. We have chief's vehicles. We have aircraft crash rescue. We have boats. We have brush trucks. You can choose the correct icon for the truck. Also, you'll notice that when the vehicle's in motion, that icon will actually move to change the direction of travel that the vehicle is moving in. So we get the sensors within the tablet tell us what direction that vehicle is moving in, and the icon will rotate in the direction of that travel. So you get a very realistic depiction of these vehicles driving down the road. And it's usually very, very close to accurate. So if you've got 2 vehicles coming and approaching the same intersection at the same time, you'll be able to see that. Also, if your AVL is displaying all of your units, you might say, well, how can I tell the ones that are going to my call versus the ones that aren't? We change it so that units that are not active on your call actually are slightly grayed out. We still show them all on the map, so you can avoid running into them on an intersection if they happen to be going to a different call, but you can also tell the difference between the ones that are on your call and the ones that are not on your call. So there's our AVL. Let's go back to our alert. We'll go back to that location. We have the ability to do track up or north up. That's the way the map appears. We have measuring tools that will allow you to do a as the hose lies, not as the crow flies, measurement, say, to a hydrant, and see what kind of a distance that would be out to a fire hydrant, for instance. Or there's also a radius distance measuring tool. And then you have the ability to add points to this map. We're going to talk about points in just a moment, so hold that. And then certainly with navigation, you can either add an overlay blue line onto your tactical map to show the closest navigation route to that call, or you can launch turn-by-turn directions. And we have a couple of options for launching those turn-by-turn directions. We'll go ahead and take that back off the map. What are some of the things that are displayed on the map? Well, there's a lot of things that you can display on here. One thing, we display live traffic overlay. So you see the live traffic conditions, and this does update in real time. Honest to God, we have seen dispatch send out an accident call, and by the time we get to the tactical map, you can see the traffic all backed up from behind the accident. This is actually generated by the movement of Android cell phones, believe it or not. That's how they track the speed and the traffic flow. So we have live traffic flow on there. In addition to that, we have hydrants. Obviously, you want to be able to see the hydrant locations. We can display the hydrants in a generic icon or color-coded to the water flow. So if you do know the correct water flow for these hydrants, we can color code them to the NFPA water flow. Quite simply, they're interactive as well. So if I tap on a particular hydrant, I'll bring up information about that hydrant. We can display various attributes. So depending on what we get from you, we can display different attributes of information. In addition to be able to take these in a CSV file, say from emergency reporting, we can also take these directly from GIS. So if your city or county has a GIS department, you can simply get the ArcGIS shape files, that's what's called a shapefile set, send that to us, and we'll use that for the import. And we'll actually pull the attributes right out of the attribute table in that GIS file. So we have the ability to interact with the GIS file there. Same thing we can do for some of the sticky waypoints. There are two other kinds of waypoints, and I need to explain that name I just used because it's going to sound funny. It started out as a nickname and became a very real name. So sticky waypoints. Sticky waypoints are a way for you to customize your map. Now, when you place a sticky waypoint on the map, it's going to stay there until it's manually removed. It will appear on every map all the time until it's manually removed. If you are sharing with a region, all your other regional partners will be able to see your waypoints. Now, we can then customize a lot of different things on the map by using these waypoints. So for instance, let's come over here. There's a demo account, but we'll pull up and show you some of the things that we've done. On this particular building, it's a little difficult with our colors, but on my tablet, I can actually see the building outline a little better. But we've actually showed the location of the fire department connection. This is our FDC icon. Here's the Knox box. That's our Knox box icon. Here's a biohazard right on top of the building. These are all interactive as well. So if I tap on it, it tells me the fire department connection is about 30 feet from the roadway surface. If I tap on the Knox box icon, it tells me the Knox box is 6 feet off the ground, etc. Now, these, once they're placed on the map, are going to be there. This is your way of customizing your map on an ongoing daily basis. It's as simple as going here, hit add sticky waypoint, tap on the map where you want to add the point. Let's just tap right down here. Once I do that, it offers me the palette of icons. Look at all these. I got Knox box, I got fire department connections, fire department alarm panels, truss construction, no apparatus access, vertical clearance if you want to try not to take the top off your aerial device or your ambulance, do not enter, no water, All of the hazmat icons are here. Helicopter landing zones. We have an icon for vacant buildings right here. Drafting points. So if you have places in your community that you want to set up a drafting point, or that you have easy access to a non-pressurized water source, you have it here. Access points for trails, helicopter landing zones. We have even some custom hazards. Here's beach access point. You're going to look at this one. That's the one everybody points out. Hey, what's this icon of a cannabis leaf? That we have a lot of clients in places that are cannabis friendly, and they have legal grow operations, and they want to identify those because some of those have hazardous processes, as we saw in Los Angeles just a couple of weeks ago with the explosion of the oil extraction from a cannabis location. So then you have the entire alphabet and numbering system that you can use to identify building numbers, building locations, and so forth. So all we have to do is simply tap on that map, place the icon we want to tap, add a few notes if we want to, and that is instantly going to synchronize to all the other devices in our entire fleet and all of our regional partners that we have shared with. They'll all have that on their map all the time. If I want to get rid of it, I simply pull it up, click on the text box, and it allows me to delete it if I want to. So those are sticky waypoints. They're there all the time. The other type of waypoint that we have is called our tactical waypoint. Now, remember when I said we're a little bit different because each incident gets its own map? This is where tactical waypoints come in handy. This is only going to be available when you're actually involved in an incident. If you're in available status, this button won't even show up because your tactical waypoints are so associated with a specific incident, that incident being the one that you currently have on the map. Now, these are for command and control. So let's assume we actually had a fire here and the incident commander wanted to do some coordination. Now, we understand this isn't something you're going to use on every call, but on a major call you would. So you can put those tactical waypoints right on the map, and those are going to be NIMS oriented, the Incident Management System, National Incident Management System. So you can designate IC, your staging areas for police, fire, even media, your operating divisions, your sections. You have all access to that information right here, and you can just choose again from these icons. These icons again are oriented to tactics and command and control. So if I want to indicate very simply where my incident commander is, I can simply tap that, and I can say IC is Chief 4, and I can click, and boom, it's on the map. It instantly synchronizes to every other unit on that call. It won't appear on the map of anybody that's not involved in this call because, again, it's incident specific. So if I'm active on this call, I've got that on my waypoint, on my map. The other nice thing is when you place a tactical waypoint, once again, we send that to emergency reporting. We record that in the incident narrative for your NFIRS report. It'll give the latitude, the longitude, the type of waypoint, and who placed it, and the exact time that it was placed. So again, that information being recorded automatically both in our system and in emergency reporting. When the incident is over and you go available, all of those tactical command and control waypoints for that incident will disappear from your map. They remain in our database so you can access them later for analytics, but they disappear off the map. So those are the tactical waypoints. Quickly, let's talk about pre-plans, very important part of our product. When we're going to an incident, we want to pull up our pre-plans. We hit the pre-plan button at the bottom. We get a list of all our pre-plans sorted by proximity to the call. So obviously, Duckworth's is at the top, but I can also look and see what other pre-plans I might have adjacent to Duckworth's. Say Duckworth's really had a bad fire and was posing a threat to various exposures around it. I can very quickly bring up the exposure pre-plans as well because they're all going to sort to the top of the list. I can also type in the search bar a name. I can sort by distance, name, address, so forth. If I want to look at a pre-plan, I tap on it, brings open the pre-plan. The pre-plan is organized in the main sections recommended by NFPA 1620. We added a thing called first due, and that's what it will open on. And that's the basic information we would expect any unit to want to look at if they were on their way to this call. They see the occupancy type, whether there's a key vault, whether there's exposures, things like that. And this will expand if there's other critical information in the pre-plan. This will expand and include any other critical information they would need to see on their way to a call. But if I get there and it's on fire, I can dive into the details. I can look at all the details of construction, water supply information, fire systems and securities, alarm systems, things like that. And again, here's a data point for security animals, yes or no. That's recommended by NFPA 1620. That's why it's there. Building systems and utility, special hazards, going to be where all your hazmat information would be. Life safety is going to be about all the occupants, and then every pre-plan gets its own attachment library where you can store pictures, PDF documents, Word documents, Excel documents, anything you can open on your tablet can be stored here. And then when you go to open it, it can open in either within Streetwise or within the native application that you have to read that particular type of attachment. So we become the attachment library. Another nice thing about our pre-plan list is if you have an area, a specific area of your community where you have bad cell phone service or bad broadband, and you say, oh, I'm worried that if I get there, I'm not going to be able to access that pre-plan because this device might be disconnected from the server. Well, we realize that's a hazard of cloud-based systems. We understand that. So we allow you to click this icon anytime you want, and that will actually take the information for Duckworth and cache it to the device. So whenever you see a pre-plan that has that little icon in green, that means you actually have that pre-plan stored in your device storage. So if you go to that location, even if you lose connectivity to the server, you will still be able to see and open that pre-plan. One of the most important features is how we do pre-plans. Remember earlier, we talked about things that set us apart from other software. We talked about NFPA 1620 and the need to be able to go out and conduct a pre-plan in person, which is of course required from NFPA 1620. We created the pre-plan wizard, and that allows you to perform a pre-plan very much like TurboTax, to be quite honest with you. When you do a pre-plan wizard, it actually is going to walk you through the questions one at a time. And that pre-plan will expand or contract. The survey itself will expand or contract based on how you're answering the questions. So it makes it very easy for your personnel to collect this data because it guides them right through the process. Oh, well, my address is 249. What's my street name? I'm going to put Normandy Road. I'm collecting that information. I just hit the next button, suite number 311, next. I put the city. You can see that this is pretty simple because you can do it right on the device while you're walking around the business with the owner or with a business representative. Occupancy type, we'll call it a business assembly. We can put the emergency contact information in here. If you want to, let's skip ahead a little bit. Here's a good example. It says, does this occupancy have a fire department access key vault? If I hit no, the next question is about exposures. Let me back up though and hit yes. And now the next question is describe the location of the fire department access key vault. So again, this survey is very much like TurboTax. If you're using TurboTax and you say you got married last year, I guarantee you're going to get a whole slew of additional questions that you need to answer. The other really nice thing about the pre-planned system here is that at any point you can take a photo. So here you're answering a question about the fire department access key vault. Well, how about you just take a photo? You can open the camera on the device, point it directly at the Knox box, take a picture, and that will automatically then go to your attachment library. So we find a lot of our clients are just walking around the building. If there's a sign on the wall showing you are here, well, basically that's a floor plan, right? So let me just take a picture of it. Boom, I got the floor plan. You take a picture of your sprinkler connection, take a picture of your electric shutoff, your gas shutoffs. You can take photos of all this in the daytime when you can actually see it, and those become attachments in your attachment library. Once you get done with that pre-plan, if you get it, by the way, if you get interrupted, you can save it so that you can come back and finish it later. But when you're all done with it, you hit this button that says submit to server. That goes up to the server, and within, I believe, 30 minutes, that pre-plan is now available on every device in your fleet. And if you shared it with other neighbors, then you've got that as well. So a really cool way to do your pre-plans. Not only that, but all that pre-plan information and data is moved into our database. So that web portal that I showed you earlier, it has all that data in there. You can print pre-plans, you can sort pre-plans, you can check and find out what pre-plans are due for updating. You can see when the pre-plan was updated last and who did it. All kinds of information available in that portal for you to work with on your pre-plans and your pre-plan data. Okay, quickly, a couple other things you have available. You can send messages to other devices, and we do have a photo share capability. Photo share is really cool because if you're using the tactical map and you actually add a photo share, it's going to put a geo-referenced icon on the map of a camera. So there'll be a little camera show up in the exact place where you took the photo. So you hit photo share, it brings up the camera, take the picture. Now you have a little icon that drops on your map automatically with the icon of a camera. When you tap on that, it will open that photo. So you're instantly sharing that photo with every other unit that's involved in that call. Again, when the call's over, it disappears from the map, but the photo is stored in our database so you can access it later if necessary. You do also, I want to mention, have pre-planned points on the map. So you can also launch your pre-plan from the map icon. Duckworth happens to be a location where we have a pre-plan. So if I just simply tap on this little P, I'm going to then be able to open the pre-plan for Duckworth. So a couple different ways that you can get to your pre-plan. We're going to dump out of that. All of our products, you have Streetwise University available. So you can go to Streetwise University. It's going to give you access to our entire library of video tutorials, which will play directly on your device. So if you want to remember how to use a particular feature, you can simply say, okay, I want to remember how to do navigation and routing on the MDT. So you come to the MDT section for CAD-Link, you go to the navigation routing, click play, and you'll be able to watch that video tutorial right here on the screen. So in terms of teaching your people how to use the product, couldn't possibly be easier. We have Streetwise University available on every single device. In addition to that, you can put in a support request right from your product. That will go directly to the on-call tech support agent 24 hours a day. All right, very quickly, let's get out of that for a moment and let me stop sharing, and I'm going to go and share a different very quickly. So we're going to hit this one next. Hold on.
Phil, just so you're aware, we're very close to the 1 hour, but
yeah, I see that. So hang on just a second.
And there are a couple questions in the console.
All right, hold on just a minute. Let me get this over here where I can share it. And I just want to point out that the smartphone version is very similar in nature, at least the user interface, but the smartphone version, or what we call the responder version, is oriented to individuals. So their status buttons are different. Their status buttons are oriented to the type of status that an individual might want to record, like I'm going to station 1, or I'm responding directly to the scene, or maybe I'm monitoring the call, but I'm not actually going to be able to respond right now. Or you can even tell your fellow responders that I simply am not going to be able to go on this call at all. Other than that, the user interface is very simple. It doesn't contain pre-plans, but you will be able to have access to the map. You'll be able to see all the same points that you did on the MDT. So very similar, a lot of similar features are built right into the Responder app. The final thing we wanted to show you was the smart board, and I'll just take a couple seconds on that, and then we'll answer questions. Let me just bring up the smart board. The smart board is for the station, so you're going to be able to view and see this smart board. So the smart board is going to run on a TV. We give you a little adapter stick that you plug into your HDMI. You hook up to your Wi-Fi connection, and now you have the smart board running on your particular screen. And it's automated. It just sits there and runs all by itself all the time. And it has two modes. It's multi-mode. So if you get an alert, it will go into alert mode. In alert mode, it's going to display the actual incident information for that particular incident. It'll give you a navigation map or routing map from your station to the call. I just put it into alert screen so you can see that now. Over on the right, you see the navigation routing map. In the middle, you see the map of the close-up view of that location, so that if there were any hydrants around that location, you'd be able to see those. You get the information about the call. You'll see a live view of any responding units. So as units begin to go en route to this call, they'll fill out automatically live in this this responder screen, so you can see immediately who's actually responding to your call. And you even have a turnout timer that you can view there on the left as well. It'll stay in that mode and then automatically revert back to the idle mode at a timeout. You get to set the configuration for when it times out. When it times out, it goes back into the idle mode. In the idle mode, you've got the ability to see calendaring. You've got the ability to see messaging. You can put administrative messages and so forth on there. So it's a great tool. SmartBoard has been, it's one of our newest products, and it has just exploded in popularity. So a lot of SmartBoards going out the door from here. And because of its popularity, we're going to be adding a lot of features to SmartBoard in the future. So I think we've covered all of our primary products. We even touched a little bit on Caduceus. And as Bobby said, let's see if we can field a couple of questions. I'm going to ask Mark to jump in. Mark's been monitoring the questions for me. Mark, do you have a couple of questions that we can maybe squeeze in here real quick?
I'm sorry, but Bob, I only see one about starting. I don't see a list in my queue.
Okay,
Bobby, do you have some?
Yep. So there's three. First one goes back to working with CAD vendors. Wanted to know if you work with Hexagon Intergraph.
Yes.
The second one is dealing with the bi-directional capabilities. Do you work with Tyler Technologies Encode products in a bi-directional feed?
Tyler, currently no. Hexagon, yes, we can do a bi-directional with Hexagon Intergraph. We cannot do currently a bi-directional with Tyler. We do those, by the way, as requested. So if somebody brings us a request, wants to go bi-directional with a CAD vendor that we've not interfaced with before, we talk to that CAD vendor and see if they'll allow it. We have a standard set of what are called application programming interfaces that any CAD vendor can use. So we issue those specifications. We provide the CAD vendor that set of specifications, and then they can build or build their side of the interface. Our side obviously is already built, but they can build their side of the interface. And we talk to them, so if they do need some modifications from the standard API, we can do that. Next question.
What happens when you interact with one call and then go on another call, even if the previous one is open? Does it close you out from the previous call?
It does not. It's not going to automatically jerk you off the call you're involved in. This allows you, for instance, if you're a battalion chief, you're on the scene, maybe you're even an incident commander, and another call comes in, and you want to just jump over and glance at that. You are more than welcome to. Go to the alert screen, scroll your index over, pop open the new call, bring up their map. You will get a warning that says you're trying to open the map for a call that you are not currently involved in. Do you really want to do that? So you only get that, and you can say okay or dismiss that. But that's simply to warn you that, hey, you're not. You just want to remind you, you're not looking at the map for the call you're on. But it does allow you to do that without jerking you off the call you're currently involved in.
Got a couple more that just came in. Streetwise time stamping. Can you set it to use both? Let's see, for CAD/Streetwise time stamping, can you set it to use both? Say you use the Streetwise CAD stamp over the CAD one, but you use the CAD one if there is no timestamp from Streetwise. So it's setting a priority between your app and what is stored within the CAD system.
That is an awesome question, because we have a ton of clients doing that. You would need, now this is on the ER side, and Bobby, if you need to, you can speak to this, but you would need both the Streetwise interface from ER and the CAD interface from ER. So a little bit of cost there, but you get the best of both worlds, because that means both the CAD system and Streetwise are feeding ER. And ER did one really cool thing. I will give you hats off to this, guys, over to ER. They built that interface so that it will automatically take the best of the two times. So let's say we send an enroute time from the button, and CAD sends an enroute time from the radio log. If ours is better, it's going to use ours, right? Because that's going to give you a shorter turnout time, so forth and so on. So those are going to be synchronized. You won't get double entries. One won't overwrite the other. It'll only overwrite the other if it's a better entry than the other one. Okay, so you get the best of both worlds in that situation. Absolutely good question.
How does Caduceus tie into CAD? Would dispatch do anything, or does it run automatically?
Okay, let me clarify. Caduceus itself is a CAD system. It's a very lightweight CAD system. It is for small departments that do not have their own computer-aided dispatch system. They couldn't afford it. Maybe a private industrial fire brigade that doesn't have any kind of an incident entry. So it allows our clients to have that front end piece, that piece that creates the call that then works its way down through all the other Streetwise products. Because if a client does not have a CAD system to feed those calls outbound to Streetwise, we created a way to do that. And while we were doing it, we figured let's go ahead and throw in a whole bunch of basic CAD system features like resource management and things like that. So it is a CAD system in and of itself. If you have a CAD system, you don't need Caduceus. You wouldn't want to have both. There's no reason to have both.
Do you let a department demo a smart status board?
Yeah, yes. Mark, can you speak to that a little bit? We have the best way to explain it, I think Mark can speak to this. We have a demo department that we can just very quickly give people access to kind of look and see what a smart board looks like running demo calls on our demo department. You want to hit on that, Mark?
Sure, yeah, we can set up a department, give them a web link to look at kind of what you're looking at now on the screen. We can do a web view for demo that'll reference calls and go off every hour. And then there's also a way to trigger it to show somebody that's going into alert mode. So we can do that. Just let us know. We can get that set up for a demo.
Now, if you're a current Streetwise client, obviously it's real easy to do a smartboard demo for you because you actually have an account. We are getting your calls. You have units out there with Streetwise to feed us the AVL. So to do a demo for a department that already is a Streetwise user, that's a no-brainer. But if you aren't a Streetwise user, you don't have a connection between your CAD system and us, you don't have units that are feeding AVL back into the system, you don't have your hydrants in there and so forth and so on, we can show you what it will look like once your account is fully set up by providing you access to that demo account, which does have all those things. And it has an automatic call that's generated once an hour on the hour, so you can see live calls coming through as well. Bobby?
Yeah, does the calendar on the current page update from ER?
It does not. That is something we are interested in doing. ERs, I'm sure Bobby can speak to, has been doing a lot of upgrading in their application programming interfaces, APIs. And again, API is how two software systems talk to each other. It's basically like an interpreter that says, hey, we're going to have the information coming out of this system interpreted to something that the other system can read, and vice versa. So it's a way for two software systems to talk to each other. And ER has been doing a lot of work on their APIs. We're going to circle back and do a lot of work on our APIs and try to find more ways to use that data out of emergency reporting. Bobby, do you have an API for your calendar? I think you do now, right?
There are calendar endpoints inside the API, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the hope, yeah, is that right now to enter calendar events, you do that in your web portal, in your client web portal for Streetwise, and it's just like in ER. It's like Outlook. You create an appointment, you set a time and a date and so forth, and then you save it, and boom, it's on your smartboard. But we do eventually want to have that synchronized so that if you want to have it pull that data automatically from your ER account, it can do that. Can't do it right now, but it is definitely in the plan.
And last one we got is, who do we need to talk to about setting up a demo?
That would be Mark. You can actually just call our number. You can go to our website, and there is a demo form where you can actually say, here's the time and the date I want, and so forth and so on. And we'll try to accommodate your time and date. Set up a full demo. Full demo of the products, as you can imagine, takes a little longer than what we've done here, but you'll get it, and we'll be happy to do that. So Mark's your guy.
And I think that is about it. I don't see any further questions.
Bobby, can I ask if anybody would like to stay on for a couple more minutes? I've
Sure.
got a video here I'm going to throw on that just is a video from some of our other clients that are talking about their product and their experience with Streetwise. If by this time you got all the information you need, you can cancel on out. But if you want to stay for the video, would that be okay, Bobby?
That's fine, yes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and I want to thank everybody, and I'm sure Bobby will too. Thank you so much for being a part of our demo.
Agreed. Thank you, everybody.
And I'm going to start that video now.
Most CAD systems are set up, dispatch centers are set up really more along law enforcement. So even the existing package that we had for computer-aided dispatch was all geared to law enforcement. It really was not tiered to anything that we needed. So what Streetwise had provided when we implemented that and how it was adopted was the ability to make it pertinent to the fire and rescue mission.
The software we were using wasn't very user-friendly, and so it just never got used.
This was really a godsend for them, because the way Streetwise CAD-Link works, no matter what, you're going to drop a pin on the map where they need to go, and it is extremely accurate.
We rely on it from the minute we get the tones, we jump in the rig, to the time we get on scene.
We were looking at a lot of different products. And honestly, there weren't a lot of products that could do what Streetwise could do.
The more we use it, the more we realize what else we can do with it.
Even our most staunch anti-tech person uses this platform.
When the guy's going route, one of the features allows you to indicate not only that you're en route, and of course they can see that on the mapping, but additionally the staffing that's on the rig along with that. So I know coming in where everybody's at. I know what the manpower is on that rig.
We're able to communicate with our own trucks and tell them what's going on specific to that call. A wildland call, a structure fire, or mass casualty. We can actually set parameters on where we want our engines and our EMS staff to be in live time.
There was a fire that was on the border. So it was a slash pile. I mean, it wasn't anything that was but they couldn't find it. They saw the smoke column, but we used Streetwise between our duty chief and their duty chief that were out investigating this slash pile. So you can sit there on the tactical map and see each other across the canyon, even though you physically cannot see them. You know where they're at, and they were able to pinpoint exactly where that fire was just by the virtue of the two of them seeing each other, using the tactical map, and then all of the other features. The roads, you can switch to terrain there and look at canyons, valleys, the ridge lines across there. And they were able to very quickly pinpoint that. That was one of the bigger selling points at District 3, having the ability to do that.
And the fact that we are a suburb and six different, I believe we're at this point, 6 different cities that have access to each other's pre-plans, that we have access to automatic vehicle locators to see where the other units are responding, is huge.
I love the feature now that we have it to where I can actually change the hydrants or add a hydrant by just going to the map and actually putting a hydrant there and putting the information in.
The sticky waypoints, again, just another way for us to customize that information. And we can do that internally. We don't have to send information over and have it added to the CAD. They can indicate, my gosh, just a myriad of different things with the sticky waypoints. That again is extremely beneficial, and they use that a bunch.
We use the sticky waypoints and marked all of our landing zones that we have available throughout the whole city. So there is no guessing. The guys can look at the map, they see a sticky point there, they hit it. It gives the coordinates of that location, the lat and long, so we're able to transmit that to the Lifelight helicopters that are coming in.
The idea of going out and doing a pre-plan is multiple fold, but the biggest piece of that is for firefighters to actually go into these commercial occupancies, see with their own eyes all of the things that they have in there, get the feel, get the layout. You know, you have all of the information, sure, that you would do data collection on and have it at the tip of your finger, but it really is about going through the process with the folks that are actually going to respond at 3 in the morning when this thing is on fire. Not only do you have it as a reference to look back on, but it's also drilled into your head.
We're not just out collecting data because ISO says we have to go collect data. We're collecting data for us. We're the only people that see that. No one else looks at the stuff we collect. It's strictly for the guys that are on the truck responding to calls. Once we kind of got that ingrained in the usefulness and the ease of access has come around, we've definitely seen an improvement in the quality of data we're collecting.
Here, look, it works for an area that has 6 different departments, and we all function on this together. But just showing anyone that would have a question on it, look at what we can do is I think that's really kind of your proof right there that it's a great product, and I would have no problem recommending it to anybody.
So it's hard to say which feature is the most used, because I think they all are.
When we lose a tablet for any reason, you know, it's a $300 or $400 fix as opposed to buying a new computer, and we could do it the same day. Whereas we don't have to call IT support out to come and put a new computer in for us. We just go out and buy a $300, $400 new tablet, and we're up and running the same day.
Because Streetwise has made such a large impact in our department, it's been very easy to justify the costs. The value in knowing that we have a product that we can rely on and get us to where we need to go with the information we need and do our job safely and confidently, very much way outweighs the cost.
Again, I think you guys are so in tune to the fire service that you're coming up with stuff almost before we think about it. But if we do come up with something, you're receptive to an idea and adding it.
You guys work, you guys are the best, and I will stay with you guys as long as I can.